standing at the threshold of Eretz Canaan, ready to begin the invasion, the conquest of Eretz Yisrael, Klal Yisrael, gazing across the water, notices that their enemies are quite formidable. Large giants, draped with armor, stacked with weapons, and they become a bit nervous and get cold feet about the invasion. Moshe Rabbeinu continues to inspire the Jewish people before he passes away. His tzava, his ethical will, his monologue, shall we say. And there's one pasuk that I want to focus on. Perek Zayin pasuk Chaf Aleph. Zokt Moshe Rabbeinu. Klal Yisrael, lo ta'arot mipneihem. Do not become broken from your enemies. Do not become depressed. Ki Hashem Elokecha, for Hashem your God, bikirbecha is in your midst, kel gadol v'naira, and He is great and awesome. There's a marvelous Eben Ezra on this pasuk. He translates the pasuk as the following: Lo ta'arot, do not be broken, mipneihem, from in front of your enemies, ki Hashem Elokecha bikirbecha, because God is with you, and He is kel gadol v'naira, He is great and awesome. Zok the Eben Ezra, you should fear Hashem. He should be higher up on your hierarchy of fear than these formidable foes across the water. And therefore, because your fear of God trumps the fear of your enemy, do not be broken. Eben Ezra's telling us a different pshat than the basic understanding of the verse. It's not that you should be confident in your abilities because you have Hashem. Eben Ezra says, no, your fear of God should be higher up in the pecking order than your fear of the other nations, and therefore you should believe in God and go and do war. A fascinating chiddush. The idea that we have levels of the items that we fear in our life, and that we should make our decisions based on these fears. In a similar vein, the Gemara in Kedushin, Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis, tells us that there's different acharayases, different chiyuvim, obligations to honor one's parents. You have to give respect, and you have to fear your parents. There are two psukim in the Torah that discuss fear and honor of our parents. The Gemara continues that one pasuk is Kaved es Hashem, Kaved es Avicha v'es Imecha, that you should fear your parents, your father and your mother. And another one is in Vayikra says, Ish, Imoi v'aviv tiro. You should fear your mom and your dad. Continues the Gemara that's why the Torah puts mother before your father in regards to fear. Because a person naturally has a close relationship with their mother, and it could lead into someone not fearing their mother properly. So, ish imo, first is mother, v'aviv tiro, that he should fear. The other way, when it comes to the father, there's naturally a fair amount of inborn fear that somebody has for their father. So there it says you should give him honor, because you may not give as much respect or honor to someone that you fear. So the Torah gives a certain cautionary word to tell you to be careful about this. We see clearly this idea that the amount that you fear someone, the amount of yira that you have for the person or for the thing, directly connects to the actions that you do towards them. And furthermore, did you know that last year, more than 6 million people were involved in a motor vehicle accident? A task that is quite dangerous, at sometimes even fatal. More than 40,000 people, Rachmana litzlan, died in a motor vehicle accident last year. And Rachmana litzlan, we should never know of such things. But yet we still continue to do it. And the answer is obvious, because the fear of it isn't so large that it would outweigh the benefit that we get of the gift of driving. Clearly stated that driving is not so high up in the pecking order of fear. You're willing to take the risk for the reward. That's this Eben Ezra. Fear God. Make sure that He's at the top of your totem pole of levels of fear, and everything else is secondary to it. Meaning that you're willing to take the risks of everything else involved because of the number one fear that you have. Every morning in davening we say, Vayiru ha'om es Hashem vaya'aminu b'Hashem uv'Moshe avdo. The nation, they feared God, and then they continued to trust in God. The Alter of Kelm makes the inference that it first takes fear to begin the climb to greatness. Level 1, step 1, the first step that you take is Yira. Noticing there's a God and fearing him, recognizing how great he is and how small we are. Everything else continues to fall into place after that. People, listen to this. Folks, this is a good one. The pasuk tells us in Parshas Shlach, when the spies returned with a negative report about the land of Israel, and Moshe Rabbeinu came back to salvage what was left of the hope of the people, and he said the following, Ach b'Hashem, just God, Al timridu, do not rebel. V'atem al tiru, and don't fear. Es am ha'aretz, the people of the land. Ki lachmenu heim, for they are lechem. Rashi there, and Rabbi Yerucham takes it and runs with this, that when you have the proper fear of God, the enemy is bread. Lachmenu, they are grain, they are nothing. They are an inanimate object. I have God on my side. I fear in Melech HaOlam, and therefore, oh yeah, the enemy, I'm not scared. You're bread. That was Moshe Rabbeinu's fear. He knew that the Eibishter ran the world, and he knew that there was nothing to fear. Hashem hu ha'elokim, and when you remember that, and you solidify that at the top of your totem pole in the rungs of fear, then everything else melts away. Our decisions are governed by the level of fear that we have. When you fear God at a very basic level, and it's real to you, it brings with it a certain calmness, a certain tranquility. That Moshe Rabbeinu, the same way, you look at enemies like inanimate objects, and other fears melt away because you know that Hashem's at the top of your pecking order, and you can take on anything. After all, this is all that God truly wants from us. The pasuk says later in our parsha, Ma Hashem shoyel me'imach, what does God ask of us? But one thing could summarize our entire job in life in one line. Ki im liyira. God just wants you to fear him, to recognize him, to notice him. There are rungs to our fear, and let's make sure that God is at the very top.